Welcome to the Subconscious Mind Mastery Podcast. Thomas Miller, and I just have a cool little story I wanted to share with you. This won't take long, but I think it's very significant. This is one of those high-value things that just doesn't take much to do, but boy, do you ever get a great reward for it. So the backdrop of this is several years ago, I just started playing a little game with myself, and the game was, how fast between the time something happened would I say thank you to whomever was involved for that thing? So if somebody did something nice, how fast would I say thank you? But particularly if I'm playing with the universe and wanting things to show up in my life, when they do show up, how fast do I acknowledge Source with a thank you and gratitude? Because I was catching myself several days later, oh yeah, thank you. I was like, well, if you'd just given somebody $1 million and they came back 4 days later and said, oh, by the way, thanks. So I was upping the game. I was wanting to really get close to the time that something happened, putting myself in. The idea was just to stay in a spirit of gratitude. And you hear a lot of people mentioning this as a great technique. So I just thought, well, okay, I want to try to get myself in that spirit and stay there. What kind of difference would that really make? So that was the game. That's what I was playing, and that's what I've been doing for quite a while. And it took a little bit to get the time compressed down, but now it's really fast. Mostly because it becomes a way of being, and that's the whole thing. Fred talked about that a lot in his books. Being versus doing. It's not that you're doing an activity, it's that you are being eternally and always grateful. Compressing the time simply brings awareness to the whole gratitude process. Is there something right now that I can be grateful for? So this little backdrop begins here in 2024 in August with a group of speed readings that we did. This is Robert Glasscock and I were doing these 5 people, 4 different dates, and we do these really fast 24-minute astrology readings. Now, one of the really cool things and one of the honors that I have in communicating with so many of you is that you are already on a gratitude path. You have a gratitude practice. So there's a lot of thanks and thank you and exchanges like that naturally take place in the communication around here, and that is just so awesome. I hope it's both ways. But one of our participants on the last event sent a specific email entitled Gratitude, and that in itself just set a tone. It wasn't in an exchange back and forth. Oh, and thank you for the sessions. That's great. That's awesome. This one was, hey, I'm coming to you to say thank you. And here's the really cool part about initiating that, is that within the day, 3 other people expressed gratitude to me. 2 were from the readings, and another was that next day after receiving that email, I was witness to a minor, not a fender bender, it was a fender buster kind of accident. And I had stopped, I saw it, I exchanged numbers, told the person how I saw the incident, which was in her favor, and she came back with a very specific thank you. And this is one of the things I saw in practice at Landmark so much when I was doing that program back 15 years ago now. I saw specifically that when you hold space for something or somebody, the ripple effect of that can affect a whole group, a whole room of people, or in this case, a group of virtual participants. Something triggered, and then boom, boom, boom. It was like the door just opened. And I saw that so much working in those seminars. I wish Landmark was still doing those. They're not, but it's all virtual now, which I think is a great loss because for me, a lot of the learning happened behind the scenes, in person. But that's an aside. The point is that when we create space and we hold that space, in other words, here was somebody who was standing in gratitude and just simply putting it out in the context of that event that had happened, and then pow, pow, other people picked up on that energy. And I think we sometimes forget this. We don't realize how powerful those intentions we put out are. Have you heard how people who have, for example, near-death experiences report back that prayers are definitely heard on the other side? In this whole game of living a more energetic life, living according to the energies that we respond to and that we create, often we forget just how powerful we really are, like Marianne Williamson said. So if we are intentional about gratitude, however we practice it, and if we express it intentionally, what is the payoff? Well, the first place I go, obviously, is the audiobook Levels of Energy, and gratitude is in the 500s, which is that high level of protection. So one of the first things I think you get is some protection. I mean, that's presuming that all other areas and pockets are in place. I mean, you can't have a hole over here and a shore up over here. It doesn't work that way. But consistently, if you are really, truly vibrating high, then gratitude is one of the drum beats of that vibration. And with that vibration comes a certain pocket of protection. Then from the manifesting side, people say and teach that if you put gratitude out, the universe wants to find things to give you that are good. And I think we could find even a Bible verse to support that. Jesus said that the Father, God, wants to give good things to his children. Well, if you think about when are we teed up for receiving good things, it's when we're following the path. No better way than love and gratitude. I think of Darren Weissman, somebody that I followed way back in the early days of my own transformation. Infinite love and gratitude, he says, often. So putting ourselves in a receiving position for things energetically is another benefit. And one more that I've noticed just from myself, it makes you feel really good to say thank you and really mean it. So another benefit is some good juju for ourselves. Well, and here's one more. So few people are truly grateful today that you will stand out among the masses. It's like you will so shine out as, wow, that person says thank you. And sadly, that's pretty rare nowadays. So let's just be analytical here for a minute. If you can make other people happy and in the process make yourself happy, do it in a way that creates a ripple, holding space, influencing a group or other people or the world around you or your family, etc. Put yourself in a position to receive good things from the universe and find some degree of an energetic protective cocoon around yourself and stand out among the masses. What's the downside? Somebody raise your hand and tell me why we shouldn't do this. I mean, when you have basically zero downside and 100% upside, I think that's a risk worth taking. So this was just a situation where it literally opened a floodgate, and the correlation and that connection of holding space all fit together into one. So my encouragement is try to tighten up that time between when something happens and when you look up at the sky with a great big smile and a wink in your eye and you say thank you, and do the same to each other. That will help us all enjoy the journey. I'm Thomas Miller. Thank you so much for listening.